Yo, people, welcome back to the YouTube channel. You already know what time it is. It's time for another episode of All You Can Eat Chelsea. Big up your damn selves on the way in the building. Now, listen, you're going to say, why is this not live? We were just starting to get our mojo again. What are you doing to me? Why are you taking this away from me? Well, listen, you know what I'm saying? This one, I decided to keep it in-house. Big up to everybody in the chat, though. As you can see, I've uploaded a lot of content over the last couple of days, and I need peace. I don't need chaos. And you guys, when we talk about some of the things we're going to talk about, it's going to be chaos. But I will be in the live chat with you, watching it back, and I'm going to be looking forward to what your opinions are. Younes, bro, cast and crew, talk to me. How you feeling? How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. Yeah, I feel that when it gets when you're overworked and it's over tiring, you got to back off. So definitely do that. Although people understand, it's all good. But with Chelsea, on a footballing level, it's happy days, really, isn't it? Happy days. Some points to debate and to talk about, but overall the result is the most important thing, and we ain't lost, and we're through, and we get our last group stage game as a friendly. So happy days.
We may just see Zakaria in that friendly, miss. Maybe one day this man will show that he actually plays for our football club. He exists.
Who's that?
Bro,
is that a player?
I'm starting to think he's not a real person anymore. I'm not gonna lie. I'm starting to think Zakaria doesn't exist. It's just a name that we see on the bottom of the team sheet.
Maybe he's a Pokemon. You gotta catch them all.
Yeah, maybe so. Every letter.
Yeah, man, look, what a sensational turnaround, huh? Like, second match day, we were bottom of the group stage table, and then
we're talking about Europa League.
Yeah, what is it? Three back-to-back wins, and now top of the table, and well, we're through into the knockout stage as champions.
Oh no, we're top now. We're top. Yeah,
guaranteed.
Yeah.
Guaranteed top of the group.
Guaranteed top. So that's fantastic. Yeah, man, that was some really, really lovely football that we saw yesterday against Salzburg away from home. So, man, happy days. Can't complain.
Really good win. Probably could have scored more goals. As I'm sure everybody kind of said in their reviews, missed a lot of chances, but the chance creation was definitely the big positive. I thought some of the play yesterday at times was just scintillating. Like Jorginho through to Sterling, lovely way he traps the ball, holds it up back to play, lays it off to Kovacic, out to Kai, and Kai perfectly weighted. And it wasn't Kai's only perfectly weighted and perfect decision-making kind of pass in that game. He set up a couple of other chances, one for Pulisic, I think, which he missed kicks.
Second half, yeah.
He could have scored some more goals himself, Kai, as well. Header, a shot as well. So he could have had a man in the match, I think, if he had just roughed around the edges and, you know, built on that wonder goal that he scored. And obviously other people took their chances. I think he could have got man in the match. Kovacic was brilliant, but yeah, and then the other brilliant move down the left. I mean, there was some combination play down the left in that first half that was really starting to come to fruition, and it was always the same players involved. It was like Kovacic, it was Sterling, Havertz, and Aubameyang as well. Always involved in some sort of combination play, leading some sort of chance. But the big debate has started with Jorginho again. Now, that's where I'm going to start, because new contract apparently is on the table. I'm going to come right out the doors with my opinion. It hasn't changed since last season, probably around mid-March, April, that we don't give him a new contract. Same as Kante. I would have been happy last summer to sell Kante, made that pretty clear, and keep Jorginho to help bed in the new midfielder, as people say, and whatnot, because you're not going to rip up the whole thing. But I'm not really on board with now trying to do that this summer. I think I'm tired now. I've seen enough. I think Miz is right when we were speaking off camera that not enough people mention the good with the bad. They just mention the bad and pretend like there's no good and the good doesn't exist. And there's a reason why this player has been able to win the trophies he's won, finish where he's finished in UEFA standings at time with the Ballon d'Or, and, you know, like I said, put in performances like yesterday. But it is the Champions League. It is Salzburg. It is a more open game, I guess. And it in a way, it is the type of game I expect to see better performances from the Jorginhos, from the Kai Havertzes, from the Timo Werners when they were here. But what we don't get is that Premier League form consistently. We don't get it. Bread and butter, 38 games when we're trying to challenge for titles, we're not getting anything what we need to be getting consistency-wise. Last couple of games, it's been like transition, head up to the gods, look up, pray, because we can't catch this man. We can't stop this man. And that's not what ideally I want for the DM next season in that position. I want the build-up play. I want that pass from Trevor, that receiving, that play back out. I want that wonderful pass into Sterling. I want that build-up play, but I'm no longer willing to sacrifice the lack of mobility, the lack of aerial ability, maybe even on set pieces when we could have someone more dominant there. I just think we need to find a world-class DM and a DM that is more well-rounded, because we just keep going in this cycle of, just keeping some of our favorite players. Aspilicueta is another prime example of this, and not moving on. And for me, it's getting to a point where it's like, especially on socials, which is why I haven't even tweeted since the game, player over club. And it's like, oh, I'm so trapped and I'm so obsessed with this repping of this certain individual. And it goes for Mount as well. You see, some channels are over speaking about Mount and just obsessed with Mount and don't want to talk about anybody else. This player thing.
Like who? Which channel?
Listen, the people are smart enough to figure it out for themselves.
That's in this.
Yeah, just constantly obsessed with speaking about the one player all the time, constantly obsessed with it. And I'm not interested in one player. I'm interested in the whole team as a whole. And yeah, I think it's time to wrap it up personally. But Miz, what do you feel? What's your assessment on this player? It was a good performance yesterday, man of the match.
And look, it's not his first man of the match either. Like, we've seen him perform in that manner many a times, and we've seen him also capitulate many a times as well. Look, I'm one of those guys. If he leaves, I'm not going to cry myself to bed. Like, I won't be like, oh my God, how do I face the morning without Jorginho ever again? No, but if he stays, that's happy days as well. Like, I'm the kind of fan, like, I completely understand his flaws. I get it. There's some distinct flaws. There's no doubt about that. But I also acknowledge and appreciate the good, the positives, which are so vital in certain parts of the game and in certain matches. Look, if he stays and gets the new contract, I see him adding value. I really do. Like matches like yesterday, Matisse, you touched on, there are times where, the recovery pace isn't there, that physicality isn't there. And I'm not going to deny that. I definitely won't deny that. But I think there is also a substance, and I don't know whether you guys will agree on this. For the past 3 matches, even Graham Potter has got it wrong in midfield systematically. Hence why he's had to make those early changes to tweak things and get it right. So I don't think it's always Jorginho's fault that he gets isolated or he gets exposed. Sometimes I don't think we are giving him the best situation to get the best out of him. I mean, it's not a coincidence that he had a very good game against Red Bull Salzburg. Don't forget, apparently that was Red Bull Salzburg's first European loss in like 40 matches. I don't know whether...
At home, yeah.
At home, there you go. And Salzburg, the way they pressed for the first 20 minutes, you guys would agree, they looked very, very good. The way they were pressing, the way they were on us. And then eventually enough, they gassed. But with Jorginho, look, as I said, are there any other players that can do his role and also upgrade? 100% there is. There's no doubt about that. There are players out there that can do his job and also be excellent. Like, for example, we've recently been linked with, well, I don't know whether this is true or not, Bruno Guimaraes, for example, for Newcastle. Sensational central midfielder who can do everything that Jorginho does, but he can bring you the physicality, the pace, and all of that. So, look, to sort of cut the long story short, man, I think far too many times as a fan base, we focus too much on the flaws. Let's try and understand why Graham Potter on a regular basis wants to use Jorginho. because of his benefits. This is what Klopp recently said. I don't use Trent Alexander-Arnold because he lacks in defense. I use him because he's a creative hub from that right side. Do you know what I'm trying to say? Like, you turn the narrative around. I don't choose him because...
rather than half empty.
Exactly, Younes. Like, I don't choose him to see him getting blitz on that right side. No. I choose him to bang in goals and create goals up front. I think similarly with Jorginho, we need to understand why we actually pick him. What is the reason we are actually selecting him? It's not because of let's expose him and get him blitz. It's more to do with that scintillating play that we saw yesterday at times from the build-up. That's what we want him for. So that's just
I also feel we don't have any other option at DM, because we've only got one DM as well. So they're kind of, in a way, almost forced to pick him on top of that as well. The fact that we don't have any other option to sit. I mean, there's literally, when he's not in there, the balance is gone. The balance is really gone. And I think yesterday's midfield lineup was a lot more balanced. You had Kova, you had Gallagher, and I looked at that on paper as the three. And apart from, you know, like I said, maybe the physicality side of things defensively on transitions, at least you've even got Gallagher there to really help you on that side of things as well. I think he did a good job down that right hand side, getting the crosses and etc. But I mean, Younes, what do you make of it? How do you see this situation? Because it's probably one of the most polarizing players in the fan base at the moment. There's definitely others as well. There's Aspie, probably. There's Kai Havertz. There's quite a few. What's your take on this one?
Jorginho's always been polarizing since he walked through the door, since Sarri. But this is the point. I think with Jorginho, he is... We know by now what kind of player he is, where his strengths are, where his weaknesses are. I think it's pretty easy to understand Jorginho. He's not rubbish. If not, you wouldn't get a Pep saying that, oh, City were after him before us, you know, and we managed to get that deal done. He's not rubbish. He suits certain games, certain systems, certain opponents. That's it. And there are some games where he's just not feasible, right? And you got to change things. I would like someone more well-rounded, because I feel like there are flaws, as we know, defensively. But when he's not being aggressively pressed, when he's not being given, you know, a snap second to think, right? And there is space and there is time and the opponent is sitting maybe a little bit low, Jorginho's the man you want. And I feel like yesterday was a prime example of why sometimes you have to leave it to Graham Potter. You got to leave it to the manager, because I'll give you an example. In my preview, I didn't have Jorginho in that lineup because I thought Salzburg at home, I thought they would come at us. I thought they would, you know, for the whole game be ultra aggressive, try and really, you know, suffocate us, right? And in that situation, if they're coming up a little bit high, you worry about on transition whether Jorginho is going to get caught out. So I went with Ruben and Kovacic. But on the outcome, when you actually watch how that game went down yesterday, especially that first half, after the first 15 minutes, where you could just tell Salzburg began to just gas out because I don't think they could keep up with the intensity. We had all the space and time, and we were creating chances for fun. Jorginho, you want in that aspect. And if Graham Potter, as a coach, you have to study your opponent in advance. You have to know who you're coming up against. We can't do that. We can to a certain extent. He has an entire team. He has scouts. He has videos. He has training sessions. He's got all sorts to know who we're playing up against, right? So he's obviously going to get much more knowledge than any of us. He obviously saw it fit that Jorginho would play and do well. In the end, he did. Man of the match. There are certain games where Jorginho fits. Just fits. And I feel like you could play Jorginho more if you had certain attributes in other midfielders around him, which right now we seem to be struggling with. If you have, for example, in a 4-3-3, and he's slightly sitting, but you want him to be that playmaker, but he has to sit a little bit deep. He's not going to advance forward. You want midfielders next to you that are going to come back and do the defensive and dirty work to protect him, because on his own, he can get caught out. If you have that dynamic, you can play Jorginho to a T. I think at Manchester City, Jorginho, it just slots right in, right? You got De Bruyne, you got Gundogan, you've got all sorts of midfielders there that are able to do all the work for you.
And especially Bernardo Silva, who's a machine up and down. Do you know what I mean?
We are. Exactly. At Chelsea, sometimes we're inconsistent in that department, and that can expose Jorginho. So I feel like there's strengths and weaknesses. There are games where it suits and there's games where it don't. Personally, I'm with you, Matisse. I feel like there's an avenue to go down for a midfielder that's maybe a little bit more well-rounded, someone that is a DM. That way we can release everyone that's a little bit more forward rather than do the opposite. Because right now I feel like that's what we have. We're not just going to get 4 midfielders in the next transfer window. It's going to be a process. So I would like someone more well-rounded. But to say that Jorginho is, useless, no. Is he perfect? No. And I feel like everyone knows that. But it's just debate extreme to extreme, and that's my only flaw.
The thing that I want to add to that is, recently obviously we would have watched the Man United game and how well Casemiro sat and just did such amazing basic things like, receive the ball, lay it off to Eriksen, receive the ball, lay it off to Bruno Fernandes, receive the ball when Fred came in, pass it on to Fred. And his lateral movement. The thing I liked about Casemiro is he was patrolling a particular zone. Do you know what I mean? That middle of the park. He wasn't really man-marking anyone. He was looking after a zone. If the ball was on the right side, he was on the right side, patrolling that central area around that right side. If the ball was on the left. So there is no doubt that there can be a situation, a world without Jorginho, and we can still flourish. But as Younes said, you then need to have, the different style of midfielders to accommodate all of that. If you want to keep Jorginho, you do. And I think Sarri said that in his 4-3-3. Jorginho is not a defender in his 4-3-3. He's the deep-lying playmaker, and the defenders are the eights. They're the defenders.
This is why Kante was so crucial. But also, Jorginho for me is not the perfect guy to do what you're talking about, that lateral movement, is because we know when we tried to counter, Casemiro just destroyed us and just took the ball and just any which way we went, he would just come and get it, and that was the game over. Yeah. But Jorginho can't sit in an acre of space and wait. He has to make sure he engages. It's like Cucurella in a way, where every time the ball gets played into it, he just engages. Jorginho needs close quarters. He needs to counter press to be very aggressive, and he has to be part of that. And then they try and nip it and win it in an interception. This is why he does very well with his interception and his tackles, because he does. When we do win the ball in those scenarios, then we're fine. If we don't, then we know we're screwed now, because we're not going to get back, and we're not going to be able to be quicker to get, to stop any sort of transition. So it makes the team. So when we talk about Jorginho, we always say, okay, the team on a whole, game to game in the Premier League, needs to be more compact. It needs to move closer together in terms of further forward and defensively, because we don't want to leave large spaces, which is good. You usually don't want your team to leave large spaces open. But then what that does, and what the argument will be from the other side, is that stops people from being able to be a little bit more expressive, be a little bit more risky with their passing, be a little bit more further forward in their thinking, because they know that they need to be compact and they need to be restricted. Because if they do venture too far forward, or they do get out of position, or they don't stay close, then transition, and then it's long. Whereas if we had someone more mobile, who was a little bit more well-rounded, who could stop the transition. I'm not saying that no DM is going to stop 10 transitions a game. Obviously, you manage it. You don't want to be ripped open to shreds, but we do need to be a bit more expansive. And I think when we push more people forward, like we did, last night, we did push more people forward. Obviously, we played a 3-man midfield there. For me, I was thinking before the game, when the lineup went out, I hope this is a 3-3-3-1. I hope Sterling and Pulisic are really high up the pitch, and then we got that midfield free. It's similar to what we did against Salzburg at home. We had that balance, but when we switched to a 2, that's where it's like, okay, now it could be a long day, because we've got one extra man forward. Do you think he should have? I mean, all of his best performances I'm looking have been in the Champions League. The San Siro game at AC Milan as well, he's brilliant there. So I feel like that pattern is important.
I feel like there's a reason.
Yeah, there is definitely a reason. I think that's an important pattern to note, for sure. Kai Havertz as well, great performance yesterday. Again, Champions League, maybe is that a pattern as well? Man the match, I'm not sure. I think Kova as well has a shout for that. That's who initially came up in my head. I thought Kova was ridiculously good yesterday. Every single bit of like attacking play as well. He was very much involved. His goal. I mean, Miz, talk to me about the goals, because I wasn't expecting that from Kova, and I wasn't expecting that from Kai either. Both of them with the finishes, they were ridiculous finishes. The hardest finishes yesterday are the ones we put in the back of the net.
I mean, I had to keep repeating myself when I was doing the watch along that. Did Kova really mean that? It looked like it sliced off his left foot.
He didn't mean that.
And then I was like, you know what? I'll give you the benefit of the doubt, Kova. Yeah. Okay, you got that goal, brother. You got that goal. And maybe that's the end of the quota for this season. Maybe that's it from him. So thank you, Kovacic, for that really, really good goal. Look, we know what Kova brings to the team, man. It's that ability to build from the back, draw the press, and to be able to break through the press and then open up the space for the attackers. And he did that brilliantly yesterday. And he gets that goal as well in the right time for us. Probably we should have got a few more before halftime. But yeah, man, in regards to Kova, how important has this guy become, man? Every time this guy doesn't play for us in midfield, it just looks like we lack something. We lack that life. Every time he plays, there's a buzz. There's a real buzz in midfield. I'm just worried. He looks like he's probably moments away from copping a big-time injury. Like, I'm very worried. He's getting managed now. He doesn't start. Sometimes he comes off the bench in the second half, sometimes after 35 minutes. If he starts, then he leaves by 60th minute. They're really managing his workload. And do you know what? I won't be surprised after the World Cup, like if he does last that long, if he actually then goes away and has a surgery and he's out for a little while. I will not be surprised if that's the case, because for us to manage him so microscopically, like to the T, every detail, how many minutes is he playing? Is it causing too much stress in his knee? He has to sort that knee out for me. So
he got brought off yesterday, didn't he?
Yeah, apparently he felt some tightness in his calf.
Yeah.
So not serious, but it just adds on to that stress.
It's a sign.
Yeah, it's a sign. It's a sign that, you want to push him a little bit more. Is probably, and do you know what? If Kovacic is injured and touch wood, he doesn't, we're dead.
We're done.
We're finished. We're done. Like that's game over for us in midfield. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, in regards to Kai Havertz,
we might see Zach.
This is why I wanted to see. This is why I wanted to see Zakaria yesterday, because I wanted to see if he was capable of contributing to the team. So if Kova was to get an injury, which is very likely, then we would know that he's capable of actually stepping in and being involved. But we're still yet to see this man.
Matisse, can I ask you something? Is it time now as a fan base to actually think, what level is Zakaria for him to not even feature a minute? Like, have you guys clocked that yet? Like, honestly,
Carney's coming on.
Like, this guy is not even being able to come on when Kovacic is in his last legs or Kante is not available. Sometimes we're even complaining about Jorginho. We've pretty much, at some point, have had doubts on every single one of our midfielders. As you said, Chukwuemeka is coming on. Ruben Loftus-Cheek is coming. This guy still hasn't seen a minute. I'm starting to think this isn't just about, he's a defensive midfielder, let's use it. I don't think he's good enough. Like, why isn't Graham Potter using him?
There is, I don't know if this is legit or not, so I'm going to leave it to the chat because I got it from some people in my comments, right, saying that apparently if he plays, then it removes the ability for him to be able to get another loan if this actually doesn't work out. So if he has 0 minutes
then
and he goes back, technically he didn't play, and it means that he can get another loan move elsewhere quickly. I don't know if that's
legit. Can you not play for 2 clubs on loan at the same time?
This is what I want to find out.
I'm pretty sure Conor
Gallagher can, though.
Gallagher did that in the one season. He was in.
He moved from Charlton to Swansea.
Yeah, didn't he do that?
Is there something in Serie A? I don't know.
It depends on the league, though, isn't it?
Oh, maybe.
Because if he's going to be used, then fair enough, cool. But if there's doubt that he's not going to be used or something, then they might just go, you know what, just don't play then, and then sort something out in Jan. I don't know. I don't know.
So, Younes, why then the recent articles about him apparently having a showdown conversation with Todd Bowley and Graham Potter to find out why he doesn't get game time? I mean, if he wants to play for Chelsea Football Club,
and Graham Potter's already come out and said that, you know, he's looking forward to seeing him soon. He's going to play. So
I think if he doesn't play till January, like once, I would be shocked.
Nah, he will. I think Dynamo Zagreb's next week, isn't it? And that's basically a friendly for us now. So I think we'll probably see Zach start that one. I reckon. If not, then there's a big problem.
If he doesn't even get that match.
If he doesn't get that match, then it's becoming insulting, isn't it? It's becoming really, really insulting. Yeah, I mean, for him, yeah, I like I said, does he exist? That's the question, isn't it? Where is he? Does he exist? Will we see him? Zagreb is the perfect opportunity. It's so crucial that we have a free hit of a match now next week, because we can literally just rest everybody, especially when the fixture list is such a pile up and such a problem. We've got Brighton obviously this weekend. That is a showdown. The fact that it's not on a live and it's at 3 p.m. I think is a joke. Potter's going back to where he once came.
I think it's going to be a fiery match, that one, man, honestly.
And you know what's so brilliant about this Zagreb game? We have Arsenal next Sunday, 12 o'clock kickoff. So we have a whole week for the Arsenal game now. Whole week.
Brilliant. Perfect.
Yeah. So it's huge what happened yesterday. But let's talk about Kai Havertz. Obviously, he got an incredible goal as well. His finish was immense. This is a player that will kind of like rope you back in, isn't it? Like, you know, he'll rope you back in and make you believe again, because everybody just desperately wants this guy to be the truth. Do you know what I'm saying? Because we spent a whole heap of money on him. Pretty much everybody, maybe not everybody, most people, including myself, was gassed when he came in. He's probably the only attacker in that window that I was actually truly gassed on. You know, we were very quick to be like, generational Kai, you know, can play 4 different positions. He's gonna be one. We got him ahead of Real Madrid and Bayern Munich. He's gonna be the next Do you know what I mean? Like, it was getting out of hand, but it is what it is. I don't really care anymore. I'm shameless. But yesterday's performance was nice. I mean, it was a slow start, wasn't it? I think the start of the game, it was only really Pulisic for me that was taking on players, making things happen, showing bravery. The rest of the attackers were kind of just still pretty quiet. And then as the half goes on, everybody starts to get involved down that left-hand side, like we spoke about. And Kai Havertz just, like I said, starts to create some really, really good chances, some good weight of passing, which we want to see more often. That header that he had from the Gallagher cross, I think, really good. If he just picks his corner there, he's got to do much better there. He should be scoring that. Pick your corner. Yeah. And then the finish is ridiculous, Younes, isn't it? I mean, what was your reaction? Because I think, Miz, you missed a watch along, isn't it, on the weekends? My chat was like, "Yo, where's Miz? Where's Mrs. watch along?" So, you know, the whole thing they do with Younes for you, they was like, "Yo, where's Mrs.? Where's
there you are, Miz. Now you know how it feels."
I said, guys, I actually have no idea. I know Miz does a watch along every single time, so I don't know for the Man United game. So I was doing that, and then obviously for this game, I know you was back. So what my reaction for Havertz was simply my jaw just dropped. My mouth was just wide open. Like they've time-stamped me looking like a fish, they said in the comments. So I don't know, Younes, what your reaction was. What was your reaction, man?
Mind-blowing, because I didn't expect him to take that shot. The moment he did, it hits the bar and goes in, basically. I'm just like, whoa. we were expecting, I was expecting something good from him, but I wasn't expecting that. Honestly, I'm very happy. For him, I'm very happy, because yesterday he done everything that he had to do, right? Considering the circumstances, goes back to the point of Jorginho and why Jorginho played well. I feel like Salzburg left space and time for us in times where they should have been a little bit more tighter. They could have closed down, but hence why you get that against some European teams. In the Premier League, you don't get that time and space. So I feel like for confidence, Kai Havertz taking advantage of that is good for him. And hopefully he can take that forward. But it's a cracker. It's similar to what he done against England. Yeah, it reminded me of that. So I'm very happy for Kai. Beautiful goal.
Carbon copy, isn't it, of the England goal? Yeah. When he was about to release the shot, I said yes, because I've been screaming for Kai to take more shots.
He needs to do that more. Exactly, yeah.
So I was like, you know what? If it's saved or it hits the post or it's just wide, cool. I don't care. I'm happy that you're taking the shot and you're taking responsibility to try and win or make a match-winning moment. But then when it went in, Miz, and it hit the top of the bar and it just crashed back. I said, wow, this is, it felt like Ziyech when he scored against Tottenham. You know, you've been waiting, you know, when you've been waiting so long for someone to score an absolute golazo that you know that they're capable of, but you just haven't got it. It's the same with the Ziyech goal. It's like, yes, finally. How was you feeling?
Man, I mean, I know you like Kai Havertz a lot more than I do. That doesn't mean that I dislike him at all. Like, I like him as well. But for me, Ziyech, when he scored that goal, I lost my mind, man. I absolutely lost my mind. Even when Ziyech came off the bench to play 3 minutes yesterday, I was honestly probably semi-hard at one point. I was like, wow, like I'm very excited now. So yeah, my love for Ziyech is something different, man. But yeah, in regards to Kai Havertz, it was a very good performance, man. Look, I'm not going to deny there were a couple of times, once again, when pressed, he got dispossessed, some passes. But overall, the package was good. Should have got 2 assists. That Aubameyang one. Oh. That you let him down, man. You let Havertz down. That is an assist on the plate. There should be an assist, one on his assist column. And then obviously for Christian Pulisic one as well, cut back. Pulisic with his left. If he just connects it, that's a goal as well.
Yep.
And yes, Matisse, you're right, the header. For someone of Kai Havertz's height, mate, you've got to dominate the air. You've got to leap and dominate. You can't let a defender be able to barge you. Like, you need to rise up like a falcon and just go boom. And that's a goal 9 out of 10 times. And if that was that 9th time or the 10th time, then, you know, bad luck. But yeah, I hope he, you know, dominates in the air. Look, a lot of people were telling me yesterday, boys, Miz, you better give us that apology note on Kai Havertz. I want to see that video. Apology, Kai Havertz. And I said, apology for what?
Well, where are the standards?
I got that too. Don't worry.
I'm like, what am I apologizing for? Like, hasn't he been poor for a very, very long time? I'm very happy for Chelsea football team and for him that he had a very good performance for us. But now I want to see this for the next 6 months minimum, not just the next game. I want to see it for next 6 months at least, week in, week out, and only then you will see an apology video after that. Like, you know what?
Our standards are in hell. Our standards are in hell. They really are. I mean, we don't demand any consistency from our top players.
Yeah.
It's mad, isn't it?
We try to change the narrative when they've had a poor run of form or they've been very disappointing, and then when they start to actually get into form, suddenly what happened prior doesn't exist, and they weren't in bad form. It was just somebody else's fault, and it was down to the pitch being too green, or it was too windy outside. Whatever the reason is that people will manage to try and switch the narrative like we didn't just watch what we watched. I'm as happy for Kai Havertz as anybody. I desperately need this guy to work out, not only for my own appearances on rival shows, but also just for Chelsea, because I want him, for the money we spend and for the talent that I think he is, to actually do the business. However, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that this is apologies time. It's time for him to step up for a consistent whole season now. This is his 3rd season. Yeah. And he needs to go and have your Mason Mount Player of the Year season. That's what he needs to do. Yeah. I want to see him at the end of the seasons in contention for Player of the Year. That is the level that I want from Kai Havertz. And if you're asking for apologies for Kai Havertz now from people, that tells me that your expectations of the player are too low, and that you don't rate him as high as you should, as a fan of the player. You know, I think if you rate him, then you're very quiet right now. You're like, cool, but you're not doing this often enough. So do it again. Go and do that again. Go and do that performance in the Premier League, away from home to a Brentford, where it does get
be
more
man
physical.
of the match against Brighton. Be the man of the match against Brighton up next.
Yeah. And if there's other things that I would say that I still want from him is I want because there was a moment where Sterling received the ball in the half space. He tracked it, you know, released it back to Kovacic under immense pressure. Kai, when he received the ball 5 minutes later, bodied, and then ball's lost, and then that was the moment I was like, you need to get better at that. If you're going to play in the 10, because everybody says, okay, right, we're going to play him in the 10, and I thought yesterday's position was perfect for him, because there was some space in between the lines, but also we had a winger on the right, we had a winger on the left, we had 3 midfielders behind him. And then we had a striker in front. So he was the epicenter of the team. He had everything around him to combine with players to do, and that's why the combination play was great. I think down the left in the first half, he had everything to play that final pass, set people up, which was great. He had players around him to combine with, because I don't think Kai is particularly dribbling past loads of players and doing things on his own. He clearly, maybe much like a Sancho at Man United, needs players to combine with, needs players to play 1-2s with. So that's fine. And that, I think, if you're playing in the 10 position, that's cool. If you're playing out wide, then it's a different conversation, because you need to be able to take people on. But if you're playing in the 10, then that's great. Surround them with everybody and let them do their thing. But if you're going to play the 10 position in the Premier League, and this is why I mentioned the Champions League versus the Premier League, same with Jorginho, same with Werner and all this stuff. If you're going to play the number 10 in the Premier League, you've got to be able to take contact. You have to be able to take contact, and you need to be able to take contact consistently. That's why Hazard was so good, because Hazard could take contact every single game, regardless of his size. That is why Bernardo Silva is so good. They can take contact regardless, every single game, regardless of their size. And Kai is actually quite tall. And when he was in that magazine, brother's got some muscles. So you've got to take some contact. You have to be stronger, and you've got to get rid of this weakness. And it must be a mentality thing, because you've got to be able to get into that fighter mode when somebody presses you and you're in a tight situation. That's the only thing right now that I'm looking at. I'm thinking that really has to be fixed quickly. And the coaches have got to look at that, because you can't play in the 10 and not expect to get challenged. That's the most congested part of the pitch if you're an attacker. If you're going to play in that 10, that's where you're going to get no space in the Premier League. So you've got to be able to handle contact.
I feel so just to add, sorry, I feel like with Kai, there is an element of he needs to. It's funny, I watched the Dele Alli thing with Mourinho from that Amazon documentary just this morning. I saw a clip pop up and Havertz popped into my mind. You know, we demand what we demand from him because we believe in his ability, right? We believe there's a top player there. If he wants it and if he wants to push himself, I feel like there's people that protect him and, you know, go off on one the moment he does one good thing, like yesterday, you know, and they're satisfied. And that's not going to push him. That's not going to take him to the next level. You know, we demand that we believe that there is an ability there that can go on and possibly win the Ballon d'Or one day. We believe that there is something there, but we're not seeing it at the moment. So we demand it, right? Similar, there are players like that who, like I saw earlier on with that Dele Alli thing. Dele Alli had the ability to be a top midfielder, right? Yeah. And he didn't push himself. And that clip of Jose telling him, you're 20 now, or I will just yesterday, I'm 56. Just yesterday, I was 20. Time flies, right? And you need to demand more from yourself, not anyone else. You need to demand it, but that doesn't mean having to score every game or assist every game or be man of the match every game. That's unrealistic. But push yourself. And look at Dele Alli now. He's in Turkey, just forgotten about, right? Havertz right now, 23 years old. Needs to start clicking now. Third year at Chelsea, needs to start clicking now and needs to push himself. And in that number 10 role, there's two ways to solve if you're not the quickest. And I feel like that is being able to know how to think quick and to be able to try and dribble quick, or to be strong, as Matisse pointed out, to have that strength. That way, if someone's coming to you and you don't have the speed, you can protect yourself. That way, you buy yourself some time. And if he's able to do that, I feel will help him. So yeah, if he doesn't have speed, he needs to build himself up in terms of strength, and he shouldn't be losing battles like that, like he did in the air. And if he does that, I feel like he'll be a top midfielder, but he needs to push himself.
Yeah, he does. It's a lot of this team is very like they show you glimpses of why they play for this football club and why they play at the level they do, and then it disappears again. And this game against Brighton at the Amex is not the game to disappear, because that Brighton team are going to be so motivated. It's going to be beyond belief. It's probably going to be one of the toughest matches of the season. I have no doubt about it. I'm not even going into the game. I'm not even for a second going to think that this is going to be in any way, shape, or form comfortable. They actually had more possession at the Etihad than City.
Have you guys actually been watching Brighton? I've actually taken the liberty to watch them when I can live, but also post, just catching highlights, full match highlights. The last three matches, they lost against Brentford. I don't know how Brentford won that. I really don't know how Brentford won that. It's
their goalkeeper. It was their goalkeeper, bro. Their goalkeeper
was David
ridiculous.
Raya.
Yeah, Raya
was
ridiculous,
saving
bro.
everything.
Saving
Literally,
everything.
Brighton was opening them up.
Yeah, it was a Friday night kickoff. I had to talk about it in the preview for the Chelsea game because Raya was that good. Like he had a Kepa day.
He was unbelievable. If the biggest issue with Brighton is if they just had a goal scorer, I think they challenge with Man City. Like they're that damn good in terms of ball playing. Brentford, much like what we did against Aston Villa, Mason Mount with those 2 goals, like they really just got the 2 goals and they got absolutely battered after that. Against Nottingham Forest, I watched that as well. How once again Brighton didn't score. Nottingham Forest had nothing in that game. Literally just sat deep. Brighton was opening them up, just couldn't score. Against Man City, second half, I think Man City was under the pump in the second half. Once again, how Brighton didn't get some goals to come back. That 3-1 scoreline for Man City really flatters them. It's not a 3-1. So this match against Brighton, we better be ready. Our biggest thing that's going for us is Brighton can't score. But you never know what Leandro Trossard, it may be the day he wants to impress Chelsea. Do you know what I mean? He wants to show. Maybe this is the player that you want. Maybe Saicedo comes up and goes, maybe you want me as well. So everyone might want to show up at Chelsea, come and take us. Might be a message for Graham Potter as well. So look, these guys, I will not be surprised if they dominate us in possession. But the thing about Brighton is they will always give you an opportunity to hit them on the counter. Like they're not, even though they're very solid defensively, they've got good structure. At the end of the day, that quality, that world-class quality lacks. So can we, take advantage of that? That's where it all comes down to. I think defensively we should be fine. I'm not going to be surprised if they have more possession and do open us up at times. But I think defensively, from their side, we can probably hurt them.
Yeah, I think this game is going to be a good football match. It's going to be a really entertaining back and forth, good football match. There's some players to look out for. Trossard again, with a great finish at the Etihad near post. This guy is just against the top teams. I think he got a hat-trick against Anfield, first player to do that since Arshavin. For Arsenal, the Russian winger. I think, he is someone that we need to be very wary of because his record against the top teams is ridiculous right now. The manager's got a bit of a selection headache, doesn't he, Younes, going into this one? Because of what happened last night, it's great because it's good confidence building for a lot of those players that needed it. Even Sterling, I think Sterling was better as the game went on. He needs the confidence. But who comes into this team against Brighton? What kind of way do we even approach this? Because there's a lot of players that for me I just don't know whether they should play or not, or whether they should, or they deserve to. It's very up in the air, the team. Yeah,
against any other opponent, I would be thinking on that level. Right, and I'd be like, oh, okay, so this player get a chance, this player get a chance, he's played well now, this player's just not, he's been rested, but we need to bring him back in, but this player should deserve to play. Like, there is all that. For this game against Brighton, I'm not doing any of that. Leave it to Graham Potter. Completely. Because Potter knows them inside out. He knows everything about Brighton. He just left. So I feel like he'll already have a plan in his head as to what players are going to get him the job done against certain players with certain attributes against Brighton, who he knows personally. I will just leave it to Graham Potter. For me, even though I have a preferred lineup in my head or players that I think overall should just play, for this one, whoever he chooses, I'm going to run with it because, again, he knows Brighton inside out. So, for this one game, leave it to Graham Potter 100%.
Yeah, I feel like Brighton.
I mean, he knows that team better than anybody, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Stylistically, I feel like Brighton might do what Salzburg did off the ball, like press high. I think Salzburg also tried to have that 3-3. They were trying to mimic the formation that we were playing, 3-3-3-1. I'm pretty sure they had 3 defenders at the back, and they were trying to basically man-on-man us on the formation side of things. So I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, the 3-3-3-1 it is a Brighton thing more than a Chelsea thing. I mean, obviously now that we've got Graham Potter, we make it look like it's our thing now. Its origination was from Brighton. So you best believe Brighton's probably going to play the 3-3-3-1 with Trossard and Solimarsh as their wingers. McAllister, Caicedo in the middle, Lallana possibly, Danny Welbeck up front. So potentially we may see another one of these same formation like the way we did against Salzburg.
Yeah. I liked what we did against Salzburg. I don't know whether it can be replicated on Premier League level consistently, where you do push two wingers at wing back, basically really high up and go quite very risky kind of way of playing, but it worked. Aubameyang missed a lot of chances. He's probably the only attacker that can come off that pitch with less confidence, maybe, or disappointment than when he entered the pitch. I don't think they were all easy chances, but the Kai one was a great one. But because I mean, him and Broja, I think it's just a perfect balance, isn't it? None of them are the ideal, maybe world-class centre forward, but Aubameyang's obviously the better shooter. He's the better striker. But there's good competition there. Kepa, in the last 10 minutes, I'm not gonna lie, half of the time he was collecting them crosses, the other time, other half it wasn't. So is this the part of his game that he can't really ever really improve because of his own, foundations that he's been given from birth? And without overreacting, because he's been brilliant, is this part of the reason why he could never really rubber stamp himself as undisputed long-term first-choice goalkeeper right now, because of these moments where it comes to teams piling under pressure late in the game, balls flying into the box, and then we just know he probably needs to leave those situations alone. And for the goal, I mean, that we conceded, I mean, who's really taking most of the hit for that, or is it more of a team thing as well?
I think Thiago Silva was out of position for that goal. He was sort of loitering around in the front area, and then it really left Chalobah and Cucurella.
Cucurella was late as well.
Look, could Kepa do better? I mean, I'm not going to blame Kepa on that, because that is such an unbelievable situation, the counter, really leaving Kepa exposed at the end. But to answer that, I just want to say, yes, Mendy is far more commanding in the air. He will come out and he will annihilate everyone and he'll clear that. Can Kepa ever emulate that? Maybe. It's train, with the new goalkeeper coach, practice, do that as much as you can. I don't know whether we're going to always, is there going to be a complete goalkeeper out there for us who can be commanding in the air, who is a ball player, who is a shot stopper, who is a great sweeper keeper? Like, I don't know what goalkeeper is out there that ticks all of these boxes right now that is someone that we can get.
Petr.
If people are thinking, now we should just bring back, Petr is not available at the moment. But in regards to Mendy, like, Mendy doesn't tick all the boxes as well. Like, there are flaws in Mendy's game. Like, Mendy won't be able to do some of the things that Kepa does. But for example, sweeper keeping. There are times where our defense is very high, and we do that purposely, which then allows the opposition to maybe dink the ball just behind our defense. The amount of time Kepa comes out and sweeps that up, are we confident that Mendy is going to be able to sweep up in that manner? Do you know what I mean? So, I don't know, man. Like, right now, it is what it is. Like, I still have complete faith in Kepa for the time being. Do you know what I mean? Like, I know that we were under siege in the final 10 minutes, but is that enough to just say, do you know what? I'm not confident anymore. Let's bring in Mendy. Like, I don't think that'll be fair for everything that Kepa has done. And it's the attitude that I like. There was a moment where I think Thiago Silva was, he leaped up and there was this guy named Simic or whatever, went behind him, and Thiago Silva had a really bad tumble on his back. Kepa came out and he was ready to fight that guy, that Simic guy. Like, he was really looking after his teammates. I don't know, man. There's all these other attributes that we need to consider and just focus on. Aerially, he's not commanding. You know what I'm trying to say, boys?
Yeah, no, I hear it. I hear it. For him, I think I see overreactions a lot with him. Calls to get Mendy back in the team, and listen, Mendy's been great, but I think it's going to take a lot more than that. Do you know what I'm saying? Those few moments there, but before we start, because that means then we're not really looking at the whole run of form that he's been on, because he's literally saved us points, literally. Do you know what I mean? So he's entitled to have a 10 minutes or 15 minutes. Do you know what I mean? Where he's a little bit more under the cosh. But for me, yeah, I think long term, I don't know actually the goalkeeper situation if either of them will be good enough, because even from a sweeper keeper standpoint, I think the passing could be better for both of them. You know, the long range passing. Yeah. I think Kepa's a lot more composed on the ball in terms of when he receives it. He's not freaking out, and he's not just like going to give it away and potentially have a mistake that costs us a goal. But I think in terms of the long range passing, we could definitely go up a gear. And Mendy's definitely not got that ability.
Watch that Porto goalkeeper tomorrow, Matisse.
I have watched him. Yeah. I watched him last week against Bayer Leverkusen because I was looking out for Hudson-Odoi. And
his assist for that first goal.
That assist was ridiculous.
And his shot stopping is amazing as well. So
yeah, he saved the penalty, made a few other saves as well. He was brilliant. He was man of the match probably. So insane. What's his name? Diego Carlos?
Diego Costa. Yeah. Diogo Costa.
Diogo
Costa. Yeah.
So basically, we're just trying to bring back our striker, but we'll put him in goal. Oh my days, love it. I love to see it. What else happened last night that was really key? I mean, the substitutions were nice. I think Mason Mount gets a rest.
All balanced. Yeah.
Thank God now. You know what I mean? We needed him to get a rest. I think he's played every single game under Potter so far. He started every game, so that was good to see. I thought Gallagher was a sleeping giant as well. Trevor and Gallagher were definitely sleeping giants. Gallagher was putting in some great crosses. Really, I think his performance down the right was very mature. He brought the balance that the left-hand side obviously went and did their thing as well. What do you guys make of Trevor Chalobah's rise? And what do you think the ceiling is for this guy? Because last season he was taking a lot of criticism online, a lot of heat in the middle part of the season when he was making some errors and giving away a penalty there and 1v1 getting done up at times. But this season he's been ridiculously good. And he's probably been our best defender, I think, in the last 3-4 games. What do you think? Because Younes, the reason why I asked is because we spent a lot of money on centre backs, and we look like we're still trying to spend a lot of money on centre backs. But it's the one that didn't cost anything. 2 of them that didn't cost anything that are our best performing centre backs, Silva and Trevor. So is this changing the way we look at the centre back position in terms of who we recruit, or because the narrative is always that we need to go and get another starter, another, potentially world-class defender? Or do we actually need to focus on making him the world-class defender that starts and maybe bringing in or letting Levi Cole be a depth option or someone that's not as high profile and spending the money elsewhere? I don't know.
I mean, there's time, because investing and trying to get players in like we did, it's probably the right thing to do. You never know. You're always one injury away from a crisis, right? So it's good to have that. It's good to I'd rather have that than have hardly anyone and having to rely completely on Trev. And then if something happens, we've got nothing. So there's that, and we have to be patient with it all. But for Trev, I feel like his rise, it's been a great rise. This season so far, I think he's been tremendous. I feel like the one thing he's managed to fix is his composure. Because last season we were seeing how good of a defender he can be. But at times he'd be a little bit erratic, be a little bit, I don't say out of control. He was never out of control, but his decision making at some points was a bit, like having to go for the shirt pull, having to try and go in for a reckless challenge, having to just, a little bit erratic. But this season, I feel like he's been flawless and he's getting better and better. And I feel like he's timing things better. There are times where he can go in for a challenge, but he's able to run and get his body in and be patient with it and just cause a hassle for the attacker and just let it go out of play, for example. Little bits and pieces, his positioning, his command. All those bits, he's just getting better and better and better. So I feel like it's good for us. Yes, we bought Fofana, we bought Koulibaly and whatnot. And those guys will play, right? And those guys will push him. I feel like there's an element of that we have to remember. getting those defenders in means that he has to step up. Like we're telling Kai and all them lot to step up. Trevor, I feel like, is doing that right now, and we're seeing the fruits, you know? So, no, as long as he keeps going, I feel like we know he's going to be a top defender. We can't demand too much from him because he's still growing, he's still developing. But right now, he's perfect. In terms of where he should be, I think he's perfect.
He seems a lot more like... I don't know what the word is, but he seems like he's grown up a little bit. And obviously, the first season he had,
he's matured.
He's matured. It feels like he's been there. He's been here on these nights. He's done it now. He's been involved, and now he seems like he knows when to be aggressive. He knows when to step off and be a little bit more calm and composed. He dealt with those 1v1s. Sesko obviously come on. Surprised that he didn't start, because obviously all this talk about Sesko, and then he's on the bench for Salzburg. I'm like, what's going on? But he is only 19. But yeah, I felt like he dealt with everything really, really well. And he's had some tough games now. You know, Ivan Toney, you know, the last couple of games, really, just immense pressure on this team. Manchester United, a lot of pressure on the team. Brentford, Villa, just being complete onslaughts at times in periods of the game. So he's had to defend a lot. And I've been very impressed, to be honest. Miz, for you, obviously, we know that we're linked with midfielders. We're linked with defenders. What's kind of like your key... From what you're watching under Potter in this initial first couple of weeks, month, whatever it is, what's kind of like the key thing that's standing out to you that this team lacks?
Yeah, it's the straight up, without Reece James, there is no one that is capable of backing up over there. And that is detrimental. As you both have said, I think, Matisse, you've said this. Is it possible to play wingers in wing-back position on a match-to-match, every single match? Probably not. There will be games where you will get annihilated because the three CBs, they are very wide. It's literally Thiago Silva in the middle. Cucurella is probably a left back, and Chalobah is a right back. So you then need your two in the midfield. In this case, well, three: Conor Gallagher, Kovacic, and Jorginho, all have to have some immense defensive work rate. And don't forget, Sterling and Pulisic, they did come back a lot of the time to help out in defense. Is it possible? I don't think so on a long season like this. So for me, when Reece James, much like last season, every time this brother gets injured, we don't have nowhere near that level. Forget, because Reece James is world-class. So you're not going to get another world-class player come in and replace him. But we don't even have someone who's probably 50% of that. Like, no disrespect to Azpilicueta, but my man, you're nowhere near Reece James's quality, and that drop-off is scary. So for me, that one has to be addressed very, very soon. And I don't know, man. I don't know if you guys saw this news. You know how Reece James, like, he's apparently hired like some social media guy recently to develop his social platforms. He's looking to do YouTube and this, that, the other. He's thinking
we should get him on here.
Yeah, we should get him as a guest. He's thinking about post football, which makes me think, and Christian Pulisic wrote a book. He's thinking about post football. It makes me think, are these players sort of mentally sort of saying to themselves, I've been copping a lot of injuries. Is this a trend for me? How long will my body last? Should I have something outside of football? I think it's prudent we get a backup for Reece James immediately, because I don't know if it's in his head that it's starting to play. Because every single season, Frank Lampard, first season when Reece James was there, he was injured. Second season, Champions League season, he was injured as well. A few games here and there. Last season, long-time injury. This season, again, another long-term injury. Is it playing in his head that the way he plays and the body structure that he has, is it able to hold his body together and be so aggressive, be so demanding on his body? We need to give him a backup ASAP.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. I think that right-hand side is extremely limited. I think we saw that against Manchester United in build-up play. It was awful down that side. We couldn't do anything down there. And this is why I didn't want a sentimental contract extension and a higher wage to be offered, because at the end of the day, on the football pitch, he's not going to bring anything close to what's needed on a consistent level. I mean, and it needs to be consistent because James is injury prone. And yeah, it's annoying because I think sometimes when we offer out these new contracts, it is blocking a position or a place in the squad for somebody else to take that, whether we buy or we upgrade from the youth. And that's going to be the case if we keep doing it, and that's why I'm not really very sentimental at all with any new contracts in that midfield as well, because I fear that if we renew one or even both, then we don't bring in what we need to bring in. And it's the same thing that's happened at right back. I'd rather just the position be void and empty, then I guarantee I know that somebody's coming in that position. Whereas if we renew, then it allows us to be a little bit maybe lazy, or we just think, oh, that's actually all right. It's not bad. It's depth. And then the depth becomes literally integral first team member. And next thing you know, you're in trouble. Cucurella as well, I think it's got to be mentioned. What's going on there? Obviously, he's playing for a manager that he's experienced under. He's played for before. I mean, I'm not seeing the levels that we saw at Brighton, but he's playing in a back three. He didn't play in a back three that often at Brighton. Played on occasion, but not constantly like he is for us. What have you made of it, Younes? Are you worried or is it just teething problem?
I was. At first, I was starting to think, what's going on with him? He's not performing like he did when he first started and whatnot. And then we heard about his illness. He lost 5 kg. I didn't know that up until a couple of days ago. And I'm like, oh, maybe that explains it. But I'm thinking, why was he being played then? If you're ill, if those are the effects, and why play? But maybe because of Fofana, maybe because of Koulibaly now. Maybe, they feel like, okay, you can hack it. Go out there and do it. I don't know if that's the reason. I'm willing to give the benefit of the doubt now that he's coming back and apparently he's gotten over it. And hopefully if he picks up that form again, then we'll be able to see exactly if it was just that. Maybe. Time will tell. But at first I was worried, and then I hear about that and I think, okay, maybe that could be a reason. So I'm willing to just see what happens, really. But hopefully he doesn't continue that bad patch or that bad form, because he did look off. He looked a little bit, I wouldn't say he looked slower or anything like that. He just looked like his processing time with his decisions, with his runs, his lack of loss of possession, little things like that, individual errors. So hopefully he gets over that.
Against Salzburg, though, I think he had a very good game defensively. Offensively, you can't really push up when you're the only, part of the only three defenders. There were some stats from PYS. I think he had a tweet out. He had a flawless statistical game, like didn't get dribble past, had 1 out of 1 successful dribbles, won all his ground duels as well, it was like a flawless sort of situation. And that's pretty much what I saw with my eye test as well. Defensively against Salzburg, he was very, very good. So hopefully from here on, it does. Look, I did say it in my recent stream, because a lot of people were wanting to know, get that opinion, what is going on with Cucurella. We have to also understand, Cucurella didn't have a preseason. He wasn't playing for Brighton in the preseason because there was all sorts of rumors that he was going to City. So Brighton excluded him from preseason. Then obviously that move didn't materialize, and then he came to Chelsea Football Club, and his first match was, I think, that Spurs game. Like no preseason, no nothing, and bang into the Spurs game, and he gets his hair pulled by Romero, and then obviously he gets himself sick. So look, let's just be patient. We saw what we saw last season under Graham Potter at Brighton, and what a fine left-sided player he can be. That player will come around. It will come around. We just need to be patient. I think it was a good performance against Salzburg, very solid performance defensively. Let's see what he can do against his former team this weekend. Maybe it might just be the kickstart of his form coming back to life again.
Because we need it to. Because Chilwell was obviously, the context of his situation is clear, and it's going to take a while for him to get back to speed. So hopefully we see the best of Cucurella. Because Cucurella, I was excited about Cucurella, and I think we spent a lot of money on him. But I do think he was needed because of what happened with Chilwell, and obviously the versatility he does have. I expected him in the back three to be a bit better than he's been. So hopefully we do start to see this player improve. But if you're gonna expect him to get back to his Brighton level. There's no pretty better manager to have than the Brighton manager, which we have. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. What's everybody's confidence levels before we wrap up? Is the confidence levels high for Brighton or nervous? I'm not going to lie to you, I'm nervous.
I'm a little bit nervous. I feel like this is... I feel like it can go either way. I feel like Potter either outclasses them because he knows everything about them and it's an easy day at the office, or Brighton show up post Potter even better than they were under him, you know, and put us to the sword, especially at home. Brighton are that sort of team that at home can cause just a shock freak result. They are that side. It's going to be an interesting game. It's going to be a very, very interesting game. I just hope we're up for it, and I hope Potter has a plan. Fingers crossed. Potter has a plan.
I'm not nervous. I'm sneakily confident, actually, because this is because I've watched Brighton in recent times. I feel like and I don't want to jinx it, they're probably going to bang in goals against us. I was just going to say, they don't score goals. Like, for some reason, they can't seem to put it in the back of the net. They have every other facet of the game.
And
they can 1-2 and then enter Chelsea, and then Danny Welbeck hat-trick within the first 30 minutes. But yeah, look, for the life of them, honestly, they have everything. They have all the link-up play. They have some really lovely 1-2s, the build-up, the fast-paced passing. But they get to the final third, and it just doesn't go in for them. So, and our defense is our strongest suit in terms of the players that we have right now. But our issue is, can we put them away? See, the teams that they've been playing, you know, City, they know how to put goals away. Do you know what I mean? Brentford, obviously, with Ivan Toney, is always going to be a threat. Liverpool, you know, the 3-3, they've always got threat up front. Can we actually, because I'm certain we will get chances. We will get chances because they play a very expansive sort of style of football. We will get chances. Can we put them away? And I just hope we put them away. Because if we do, then it's a win.
Yeah. Well, we'll have to see what happens. I mean, I would love for us to get back to winning ways in the league, because it's very frustrating to know that. But for a few moments against Brentford and for a last-minute equaliser against Man United, we could be literally pretty much on the coattails of where Man City are. And that's not because, and I'm not saying that because I think we're Premier League title contenders, because we're not. But
why not?
Oh, for fuck's sake.
The way he said it as well. Why not?
What?
How dare you?
but we would be 3 points off the top. And I'm not saying that again because I think we're in a title race, but I'm saying that because I just do want us to be up there. So I know that top 4 is comfortable. And that's really all I care about right now, is making sure top 4 is comfortable, because I do think that is the objective for Potter this season. But if Younes would like to take a stand and say that Premier League title credentials are on the table, then there you are, sir.
Hey, I'm just saying, yeah, we're winning the Champions League.
Listen, Champions League is something I will dream about every single year. They were asking me in the comments, do you think we have the potential to win it? And to be honest, every year we're in it, we have the potential to win it. But the one thing I will say that makes a big difference in comparison to Tuchel is that Tuchel got PSG to the final, was in it with Dortmund, whereas Potter doesn't have that experience. So the players will have to step up maybe just a little tiny bit extra to help Potter navigate through what is his first time in this level of competition. But yeah, I'll dream.
Yesterday's video, that I put out, it's funny because I got some people going, "Oh, Younes, there's points where you're being negative, right?" I ended the video by saying, "We can win the Champions League." Like, is that, you can't get more positive than that, right? Listen, with Chelsea,
sometimes delusional.
Listen, with Chelsea, I want to say this. Honest. Are we going to win the Premier League? No. Right? You never know.
You don't believe that, Younes.
I don't know. I don't think we will. But the Champions League is a thing where whenever we're in chaos and whenever we're ruled out and people are looking like, nah, things happen. and somehow, like now we're in the last 16, we've topped the group. You never know. With a new manager, the way that we've been playing, if we can be consistent and keep this going, I'm not going to rule us out. We can win the Champions League. So I just want to say that. Cheers.
There you go. There you go. I'm going to leave it on that note of that positivity. And to be honest, people always say, can we win a trophy and what we expecting? For me, no matter what year we're in any project or process or whatever P word you want to use, because I don't like to use them, but they are there, accessible in the dictionary for you to take. I still think a cup win is always got to be a target. You got to try and win something every year. And there's no reason why this team can't try and win a cup minimum. And I'm not saying what cup, like Younes said, any cup is available. So, Miz, let them know where to find you, bro. Pleasure as always. Great show.
Great show as always. The other side of the coin, I think 400 subscribers away from 18,000. So let's try and help us do that. Yeah, just building up to the Brighton game now. And that's pretty much it, man.
And Younes, bro, let them know where to find you. A lot of fixture congestion for us YouTubers is not easy, man. We don't have recovery days. These players have it easy. We don't have recovery days.
It's actually mad, isn't it? It's a hectic schedule, thankfully. And for us, it doesn't stop. But thankfully, for the last group stage game, Chelsea can relax. We can rotate completely. So I think that makes our job easier, because having to predict who's going to play, what's going to happen, I think it's going to be straightforward. And it would mean that we have less to think in terms of rotation. It's going to be straightforward in terms of the fixtures coming up. So yeah, all looking to Brighton. And then after that, see how we can end the month, and the World Cup's coming around. So it's going to be hectic, not just for them, but for us too. But Younes Talks Football is where you find all my opinions.
Well, there you go. I've released my Jorginho tweet, and I'm sure that will do wonders on the TL. I mean, to be honest, yeah, I don't really care. You know what I'm saying? I just put it out there just to keep the account alive, and we move. We'll see what Twitter wants to do with that. That's their business. But make sure you guys smash up the likes. Make sure you subscribe. A lot of content's been dropping. I hope you see that. I hope you enjoy the content. We've got some more videos dropping soon. I think we'll probably have hopefully Ben on back again, the Brighton fan. Obviously, very interested circumstances going into this Brighton game to get his expertise for a special Brighton video, because I think they're a very interesting team to talk about as well, which is important. Apart from that, just hit up the icons and make sure you let me know what you think in the comments down below. And I do want to say
quickly, just before we go, I'm curious as to how Brighton are going to receive Graham Potter, like the fans.
If they boo him, I'll be disappointed.
Yeah, that would be disappointing. Yeah,
yeah.
Brighton's in the map because of Potter.
I don't think they will. Yeah, I don't think they will. I think they'll show him respect. I've been to Brighton a few times, and they seem to have loved him over there.
They loved him.
Yeah. So hopefully they're not too salty. They will be if we come in for any more of their players, which I'm not going to rule out. Anyway, in a bit, people. Peace.